My wife said she only married me because I knocked her up. I can live with not being loved, but it makes our relationship feel so one-sided. I overheard my wife on the phone last night telling her sister something that shattered me. I never loved him. I married him because I was pregnant and thought maybe feelings would grow. They never did. When she hung up, I confronted her. She didn't deny it, just looked at me with those calm eyes and said, "You're a good man. You treat me right. Provide for our family. Respect me. That's more than most women get." I asked if she regrets marrying me. She shook her head. "Our marriage works. We're a team. I respect you completely. I'd never cheat or hurt you. Isn't that enough? 12 years together, 2 kids. She earns more than me. So it's not about money. We never fight. We're great parents. Everyone thinks we're the perfect couple, but I'm drowning in this one-sided love while she's content with a partnership built on respect alone. She's been an incredible wife and mother, never given me a reason to complain about anything except this one devastating truth. So I asked the question that's been eating me alive. If you could go back, would you still choose me? She paused for what felt like forever, then said something that changed everything. Yes, but not for the reasons you think. She sat down and explained that before me, she dated Elliot for 3 years. Rich, charming, everything she thought she wanted, but he was controlling, made her feel small, isolated her from friends. When I got pregnant, I panicked. Elliot would have demanded I get rid of it or disappear from his life entirely, but you immediately started talking about baby names and how we'd make it work. I remembered that night. I was terrified but excited. That's when I realized something. She continued, "Love isn't just butterflies and passion. It's choosing someone every single day. And Elliot never chose me. Not really. But you've chosen me every day for 12 years. She reached for my hand. I may not have married you for love, but I stay married to you because of it. The love I feel now isn't the same as what I felt for Elliot. It's deeper. It's built on something real." I was stunned. "So you do love me?" "I love the man who held my hair when I was sick during pregnancy, who learned to braid our daughter's hair from YouTube videos, who still brings me coffee in bed every Sunday, even though I never asked." She paused, tears in her eyes. I love the man who would ask, "Do you regret marrying me?" instead of just walking away when he felt unloved. Elliot would have just left. Then she said something that broke me in the best way. "I didn't marry you because I loved you, but I love you because I married you. There's a difference." We talked until 3 a.m. that night. Turns out she'd been scared to show her feelings because she thought I only stayed out of obligation to the kids. We'd both been protecting ourselves from vulnerability, missing what was right in front of us. The next morning, she made me coffee and said, "I choose you today, and I'll choose you tomorrow. That's what love actually is." I started thinking about all the little moments I'd missed, like how she always saves me the last piece of pizza, even though it's her favorite, how she still laughs at my terrible dad jokes after all these years, how she moved across the country when I got a job offer, no questions asked, or how she learned to play video games just so she could understand what our son was passionate about, how she defended me to her mother when she criticized my career choice, how she never once made me feel bad about earning less than her. I realized I'd been so focused on hearing "I love you" that I missed seeing it in action every single day. That weekend, we did something we hadn't done in years. We went on an actual date. No kids, no phones, just us. Over dinner, she told me more about Elliot and why that relationship messed with her head. He said he'd loved me constantly, she explained, but his actions never matched his words. She paused, then added quietly, "And when I got pregnant the second time with our son, I almost didn't tell you. I felt like I'd been punched." "What do you mean you almost didn't tell me?" She bit her lip. "I was going to handle it alone because I thought you only stayed for our daughter. I had the appointment scheduled and everything." My vision blurred. "What appointment?" Her next words came out broken. "I was sitting in the parking lot when I saw you playing with her at the park across the street and realized what I was about to throw away. I couldn't breathe for a second. The waitress came by asking if we needed refills, but I barely heard her. My wife's hand was shaking on the table and I just stared at it, trying to process what she'd just said. You were going to... I couldn't even finish the sentence. The restaurant suddenly felt too loud, too bright. Someone at the next table was laughing about something, and it felt wrong, you know? Like, how could anyone be laughing when my whole world just shifted again? She nodded slowly, tears streaming down her face now. "I sat there for 45 minutes, she whispered. "The appointment was at 2. I watched you push her on the swings and she was giggling so hard. You were making those silly monster noises you always do." I remembered that day. It was a Tuesday. I'd taken off work early because our daughter had a half day at school. Nothing special, just a normal afternoon at the park near the clinic. I had no idea my wife was sitting in a parking lot across the street, literally deciding our son's fate. "Why didn't you tell me you were struggling?" My voice came out rougher than I meant it to, because I thought you'd say the right things just to keep the family together, not because you actually wanted another baby with me. She wiped her eyes with her napkin. "I thought I was doing you a favor, honestly. Like, maybe you'd be relieved." Relieved? I almost laughed, but it came out bitter. "Our son is the best thing that ever happened to us. I stopped because I was getting choked up too." "I know that now," she said quickly. Trust me, I know. But back then, I was so convinced you didn't really love me, that you were just going through the motions. So I thought, why trap you with another kid? The waitress came back with a check and we both just sat there, neither of us moving to take it. Finally, I reached for it, my hands not quite steady. We drove home in silence, but it wasn't the comfortable silence we usually had. This felt heavier, loaded with things we still needed to say. When we got inside, our son was playing video games in the living room, and our daughter was in her room doing homework. Everything looked so normal, so perfect, and I realized how close we'd come to none of this existing. He wouldn't be here right now, making those excited noises when he beats a level. That night after the kids went to bed, we stayed up talking again. She told me more about that day, how she'd called 3 different clinics before settling on one across town where nobody would recognize her, how she'd told her boss she had a dentist appointment, how she'd practiced what she'd say to me afterwards, planning to just tell me she'd had a miscarriage if I ever asked why she looked upset. "I'm so sorry," she kept saying. "I'm so sorry." And honestly, I didn't know how to feel. Part of me was angry that she'd almost made that choice without me. Part of me understood why she felt so alone back then. Mostly, I just felt grateful that she'd looked across that street at the right moment and changed her mind. "What made you get out of the car?" I asked. "Like, what was the exact moment?" She smiled through her tears. "You fell. You were being dramatic, pretending our daughter had knocked you over and you were lying on the ground making her laugh. And I thought, that's who he is. He's the guy who falls down in public to make his kid happy. And I wanted our baby to have that too." We held each other for a long time that night, and I really thought we'd turned a corner, you know? Like we'd finally broken through all the walls we'd built up over the years. We'd been honest about everything. Her doubts, my insecurities, all of it. It felt like a new beginning. The next few days were actually amazing. We were more affectionate than we'd been in years. She'd kiss me goodbye in the morning like she actually meant it. We'd text during the day just to check in. She even suggested we start doing date nights weekly, not just when we remembered. I was at work when it happened. The moment everything I thought I knew came crashing down again. It was a Thursday around 2 p.m. I was in a meeting with my team when I realized I'd left my keys at home. I'd driven her car that morning because mine was in the shop, and I couldn't remember if I'd put my keys back in my pocket or left them on the counter. So I texted her, "Hey, did I leave my keys on the kitchen counter? Need to grab something from my car after work." She replied quickly, "I'll check when I get home." Still at the office. Simple enough. Except when I got home that evening, I remembered she'd gone to the gym that morning before work. Her gym bag was still on the bench by the door, and I figured I'd check there first before tearing apart the kitchen. I unzipped the main compartment, pushed aside her water bottle and towel, and that's when I saw it. A phone. But not her phone. She'd had her phone at dinner. I'd watched her check it multiple times. This was a cheap prepaid flip phone, the kind you buy at a gas station. And it was on. I'm not proud of what I did next. I know it was wrong. I know it was a violation of privacy. But something in my gut told me to look. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was paranoia from years of feeling unloved, finally catching up to me. Either way, I opened it. The first message made my blood run cold. "EI, can't wait to see you tomorrow." "Same time?" Her, "Yes, I'll tell him I have a late meeting." "I, perfect. I've missed you." Her, "Me too. I just need to be patient a little longer." I scrolled up and up and up. The messages went back months, 6 months to be exact, right around the time our son had turned 17. They'd been planning something, coordinating meetings, and talking about the future in vague terms that made my stomach turn. But it was the name that really killed me. E. Elliott. It had to be him. The ex-boyfriend she'd spent the last few weeks swearing she was over. The one she'd compared unfavorably to me. The one who'd supposedly shown her what real love wasn't. I sat on that bench for probably 20 minutes just reading. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone twice. There were messages about meeting at his apartment downtown. Messages about how careful they needed to be. Messages where she'd told him our schedules, when I'd be at work, when the kids would be busy. One message from 3 weeks ago, right before our big reconciliation talk. "E, are you sure about doing this?" Telling him that stuff about choosing him. Her, "I need more time. The kids are still young. Once our son graduates and heads to college, everything will be simpler. Trust me. E, I've trusted you for 6 months. I can trust you for 2 more years." Her, "I love you. Always have." I actually laughed when I read that. Like a real crazy person laugh that echoed in our empty house. Because she'd never said those words to me. Not once in 12 years, but she'd typed them to him like it was nothing. When she walked in an hour later, I was still sitting on that bench, phone in my hand. She saw me immediately, saw what I was holding, and her face went completely white. "Where did you—" she started. "Your gym bag," I said. My voice sounded weird, flat. "I was looking for my keys." She didn't move from the doorway, just stood there, frozen. Like maybe if she stayed still enough, this moment wouldn't be real. "How long?" I asked. "It's not what you think," she said. And I swear to God, I'd never wanted to throw something so badly in my life. 6 months, I said. The messages go back 6 months. So let me ask again. How long? She closed the door behind her, locked it, like she was worried the neighbors might hear what came next. "Please, let me explain." "Explain what?" I stood up and she actually flinched. I've never hit her, never even raised my hand to her, but apparently I looked scary enough right then that she thought I might. "Explain how you've been meeting with Elliot, how you told him you love him, how you've been planning to leave once our son goes to college. He's been blackmailing me," she said quickly. "I swear I can explain everything." Blackmailing you? I held up the phone. These messages don't sound like blackmail. They sound like a woman planning her exit strategy. He has photos, she said, and now she was crying. From when we were dating. Photos I didn't know he still had. He said if I didn't meet with him, he'd send them to my work, to your parents, to everyone. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe her so badly. But the messages didn't match her story. There was nothing threatening in Elliot's texts, no demands, no ultimatums, just plans and affection and talk about their future. Show me the photos, I said. What? If he's blackmailing you with photos, show me the messages where he threatened you. Show me proof. She opened and closed her mouth a few times. He deleted them. He always deletes the threatening ones. That's convenient. I pocketed the burner phone. You know what? I need some air. I need to think. Please don't leave angry, she said, reaching for me. Please, we can work through this. I pulled away from her touch like it burned. You lied to me. After everything we talked about, after I poured my heart out to you, after you told me you chose me, you were lying the entire time. I wasn't lying about everything, she said desperately. Some of it was true. Which parts? I yelled, and I never yell. Our daughter's door opened upstairs and I saw her peeking out, concerned. I lowered my voice. Which parts were true? The part where you said you loved me? The part where you said Elliot was controlling? The part where you almost got rid of our son but changed your mind because you saw me at the park? Which parts were real and which were just manipulation? She didn't answer. Couldn't answer probably because she didn't know anymore either. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. I'll be back later. Don't wait up. I drove around for hours that night just thinking. Part of me wanted to confront Elliot right then, but I needed to be smart about this. If she was lying and every instinct I had screamed that she was, then I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. So instead of confronting him, I went home and pretended to believe her story. Told her we'd figure it out together, that we'd deal with Elliot's blackmail as a team. She looked so relieved she almost collapsed. The next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I installed a recovery app on my laptop and cloned the burner phone while she was in the shower. Every message, every call log, every photo, all backed up where she couldn't delete it. Then I started watching and waiting. Over the next 3 days, I checked that phone every chance I got. She was careful, I'll give her that. Never kept it on her, always hidden in different spots around the house. But I always found it, and every time I read those messages, I felt a piece of myself die. Tuesday afternoon, I transferred another $10K to the account. We're almost at the goal. Her, thank you. I can't wait to finally start our real life together. Wednesday morning, my meeting ran late, but I'm free now. Can you get away? Her, give me 20 minutes. I'll say I'm going to pick up groceries. Thursday night, 2 more years feels like forever. Her, I know, but it'll be worth it. Once he's settled with the kids and the divorce is filed, we can finally be together properly. That last one made me actually sick. I barely made it to the bathroom before throwing up. She heard me and came to check, all concern and sweetness. Are you okay? Hey, do you need anything? I looked at her standing in the doorway in her pajamas. The same pajamas I'd bought her for Christmas 2 years ago, and I didn't recognize her. This wasn't the woman I'd spent 12 years with, or maybe it was, and I'd just been too blind to see it. I'm fine, I managed. Just something I ate. On Friday, I decided I needed to see it for myself. Needed to know if her story about blackmail had even a shred of truth to it. So I looked up Elliot's address from the messages and drove there during my lunch break. He lived in a nice apartment complex downtown, the kind with a doorman and everything. The kind of place that screamed money. I didn't go inside, just sat in my car across the street feeling pathetic and ridiculous. Then I saw her, walking up to the building at 12:30, right when the messages said she'd be there. She wasn't dressed for a blackmail situation. She was wearing a nice dress, heels, had clearly done her makeup. She looked happy actually, smiling as she typed something on her phone before going inside. I waited and waited. She came out 2 hours later and Elliot was with her. He walked her to her car, kissed her cheek, said something that made her laugh. She drove away and he stood there watching her go with this satisfied smile on his face. I wanted to confront them right there, wanted to jump out of my car and make a scene. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the public setting. Maybe it was the fact that I was already planning something bigger. Either way, I drove back to work and acted like everything was normal. That weekend, I told her I needed to take the kids to visit my parents for a few days. She seemed almost relieved to have the house to herself. I took them to my brother's instead and told him I needed to borrow his recording equipment. What for? He asked. I need to catch someone in a lie, I said, and I need it on tape. He didn't ask questions, just handed over a small digital recorder and showed me how to hide it. Be careful, was all he said. Monday morning, I placed the recorder in our bedroom, hidden behind a stack of books on the shelf. It was voice activated, could record for up to 72 hours. Then I went to work like normal. That evening, she got a call while we were watching TV. She glanced at the screen, then at me. It's my sister, she said. I should take this. She went upstairs. I waited exactly 3 minutes, then followed quietly. Our bedroom door was cracked open and I could hear her voice, low and intense. I can't talk long, he's downstairs. No, he bought it. The blackmail story worked. I know, just 2 more years. years. Our son graduates, goes to college, and then I'm free. It's not that I don't love him, it's just," she paused. "It's not the same. It's never been the same. I've been playing this role for so long I almost forgot what it feels like to want someone. Yes, obviously I'll get my half of everything. More than half, probably. I earn more, I can afford better lawyers. No, he won't fight me on custody. He's too nice. He'll let me see them whenever I want because that's who he is. I can't wait to finally be free, to not have to pretend anymore." I stood there in the hallway, listening to her tear apart 12 years of marriage like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. When she finished the call and came back downstairs, I was already on the couch, eyes on the TV, face blank. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah," she said, sitting next to me. She even leaned her head on my shoulder. "Just sister drama. You know how it is." I knew how it was, all right. I knew exactly how it was. The next day, Tuesday, I told her I had a big project at work and would be home late. She seemed fine with it, even eager. "Take your time," she said. "I've got some things to catch up on anyway." I went to work but left at 3 p.m., parking a block away from our house. Then I waited. At 4:15, right on schedule according to the messages I'd been reading, a car pulled up. Elliot got out, looked around like he was checking for witnesses, then walked up to my front door. My wife answered immediately. She was wearing something I'd never seen before, a red dress that was definitely new. They kissed right there in the doorway, the kind of kiss you don't give someone who's blackmailing you. Then they went inside. I gave them 30 minutes, wanted to make sure there was no way she could claim he'd just stopped by unexpectedly. Then I walked up to my own front door and used my key. They were in the living room, on my couch. She was sitting on his lap, laughing at something he'd said, and they both froze when they saw me. The look on her face would have been funny if it wasn't destroying my life. Pure panic, like a kid caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Elliot, though? He just smirked. "Hey, man," he said, like we were old friends. Like he wasn't in my house with my wife on his lap. "I think we need to talk." "Get off my couch," I said. My voice was shaking, but I kept it level. "Get out of my house." "Look, I know this looks bad." My wife started scrambling off his lap. "Bad?" I laughed. "You told me he was blackmailing you. You cried. You begged me to believe you. And here you are, in our home, with him." Elliot stood up slowly, straightening his expensive shirt. "She didn't lie about everything," he said. "I mean, technically, I have been holding onto some photos. Insurance, you know." "Insurance for what?" "For this exact situation." He pulled out his phone. "See, your wife and I have been planning her exit for a while now. 6 months to be exact. But she was worried you might get vindictive in a divorce. Try to turn the kids against her or whatever. So yeah, I kept some photos from our past. Just in case you decided to play dirty." I looked at my wife. "Is he serious right now?" She couldn't meet my eyes. "It's complicated." "It's really not," Elliot interrupted. "She loves me. Always has. You were the safe choice, the backup plan. The guy who'd take care of her when I wasn't ready to settle down, but I'm ready now." He put his arm around her shoulders. "We're ready, and honestly, man, you should thank me. I'm taking her off your hands. Now you can find someone who actually wants to be with you." Something in me snapped. I walked right up to him, got in his face. "You have 5 minutes to get your shit and get out of my house. Both of you." "Both of us?" My wife's voice was small. "This is my house too." "Not anymore, it's not." I turned to her. "You want to leave? You want to be with him? Fine. But you don't get to do it on your terms. You don't get to keep playing happy family while planning your exit. You're done. Get out. Now." "You can't kick me out," she started. "Watch me." I pulled out my phone and called a locksmith. "Yeah, I need all the locks changed on my house. Today, as soon as possible." "Yes, it's an emergency." "You're being irrational," Elliot said. "Let's all just calm down." "You don't get to tell me to calm down in my own house," I yelled. "Our neighbors probably heard I didn't care. You're sleeping with my wife, in my house, on my couch, and you want me to calm down, Dad?" We all turned. Our daughter was standing at the top of the stairs, home early from practice. She looked between the three of us and I watched her put it together. The strange man in our living room, her mom's fancy dress, me yelling, her face crumpled. "Sweetheart," my wife started toward the stairs. "Don't," our daughter said, voice cracking. "Just don't." She went back to her room and slammed the door. The sound of it echoed through the house, and finally, my wife seemed to realize what she'd done. "I need to talk to her," she said. "No," I said firmly. "You need to leave. You want it out? You're out. Pack a bag, get your essentials, and go. You've got 1 hour. Where am I supposed to go?" Elliot cleared his throat. "You can stay with me, obviously." "Then go stay with him," I said to her. "Go start your new life. But you don't get to do it here." She looked at me like I was a stranger. "When did you become so cold?" I almost laughed again. "Cold? You've been planning to leave me for 6 months. You've been sleeping with your ex behind my back. You brought him into our home, around our kids. And I'm cold?" The locksmith called back. "They could be there in an hour." Perfect timing. My wife went upstairs to pack and Elliot followed her. I stood in the living room looking at the couch where I'd caught them and felt absolutely nothing. It was like I'd run out of emotions, just empty. When they came back down, she had 2 suitcases. "I'll come back for the rest later." "No," I said. "You'll coordinate with my lawyer. From now on, all communication goes through them." "You don't have a lawyer," she said. "I will by tomorrow morning. Trust me." She looked at our daughter's closed door upstairs. "I need to explain to her. You need to leave." I opened the front door. Now. They left. I watched Elliot's car pull away with my wife in the passenger seat, headed to his apartment downtown. Then I locked the door and sat on the stairs, head in my hands. Our daughter came down a few minutes later. Is mom coming back? I don't know, sweetheart. I honestly don't know. She sat next to me and we just stayed there in silence. Eventually, our son came home from his friend's house, took one look at us, and knew something was seriously wrong. Where's mom? He asked. She's staying somewhere else for a while, I said. Sit down. We need to talk. That night was one of the hardest of my life. I had to tell my kids that their mom had been lying to all of us, that she'd been planning to leave, that everything they thought they knew about our family was built on a foundation of deception. My daughter cried. My son got angry, started punching the couch cushions. I let them feel everything. Didn't try to make it better because I couldn't. There was no making this better. Why would she do this? Our daughter asked. I thought she loved you, loved us. She does love you, I said, because of that much I knew was true. This isn't about you guys, this is between me and her. But she lied to everyone? Our son said. For months. How do we trust anything she says now? I didn't have an answer for that. My phone buzzed around midnight. A text from her. Can we please talk about this like adults? I didn't respond. Another text. You're overreacting. We can work through this. I blocked her number. The next morning, I went to the office of the most ruthless divorce attorney in town. Her name was Janet Winters, and she had a reputation for absolutely destroying people in court. I'd heard horror stories about her from guys at work. She was exactly who I needed. Tell me everything, she said, pulling out a legal pad. I told her about the burner phone, the messages, catching them in my house. I played her the recording from our bedroom where my wife talked about leaving once our son graduated. I showed her the photos I'd taken of them together at Elliot's apartment. Janet smiled. Not a nice smile, a shark smile. This is good, really good. She made a lot of mistakes. Like what? Like bringing her affair partner into the marital home. Like planning to delay divorce proceedings until it benefited her financially. Like discussing asset division before filing. She tapped her pen on the pad. All of this shows premeditation. She wasn't just having an affair, she was strategically planning to maximize her benefit at your expense. Can we win? Win? Janet laughed. Honey, we're going to destroy her. Over the next few days, I learned things about my wife I never knew. Janet hired a forensic accountant who found that she'd been moving money from our joint accounts into a private account I didn't know existed. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. Over 3 years, she'd moved nearly $80,000. She was building her exit fund, Janet explained, squirreling away money so she could leave when she was ready. How did I not notice? Because you trusted her. That's not a flaw, that's normal. She exploited that trust. The accountant found something else too. That business opportunity Elliot had mentioned in the messages? Turns out my wife had convinced him to invest $150,000 of his own money into it. Some startup that was supposed to revolutionize online retail or something. The company didn't exist. It was basically a pyramid scheme, and Elliot had been dumb enough to fall for it because she told him they'd use the profits to start their new life together. She scammed him, I asked. Looks like it, Janet said. Or she genuinely believed in the company and convinced him to invest. Either way, he lost his money. I felt a weird sense of satisfaction at that. At least I wasn't the only idiot in this situation. That weekend, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Hello? Is this a woman's voice, uncertain? Is this the husband of the woman seeing Elliot Boyd? My stomach dropped. Who is this? My name is Jennifer. I'm Elliot's wife. The world tilted. His what? His wife, she repeated. We've been married for 2 years. I found some messages on his phone, did some digging, and found your name. I'm so sorry to call like this, but I needed to know if what I found was real. I sat down heavily on the couch. Elliot was married. He'd been married this whole time he was sleeping with my wife. It's real, I said. I caught them together last week. Jennifer made it sound like she'd been punched. I thought he said he was working late or traveling for business. I never questioned it because I trusted him. Yeah, I know the feeling. We talked for over an hour. Turns out Elliot came from money. Old money, family money. His wife's family was even wealthier. They'd met at some charity function and she'd fallen hard for his charm. Her parents had never liked him, but they'd gotten married anyway. My father's going to kill him, she said. Not literally, but he'll cut him off. Elliot's trust fund is tied to staying married to me. If we divorce, he loses everything. Everything? Everything. The apartment downtown? My family owns the building. His car, his lifestyle, all of it depends on my family's money. So that was it. Elliot wasn't just sleeping with my wife because he loved her. He was planning to trade one meal ticket for another. Except my wife earned good money, around $150,000 a year. And with her careful planning, she'd probably have walked away with half our assets too. Combined with whatever she'd squirreled away, they'd have had a comfortable start to their new life. I'm sending you everything I have, I told Jennifer. All the messages, photos, recordings, everything. Thank you, she said quietly. I'm going to bury him. 2 days later, Jennifer filed for divorce. Elliot's wealthy in-laws immediately froze his access to their money. The apartment, the car, the country club membership, all gone overnight. He was living in a cheap motel by the end of the week. And my wife, she was staying there with him. I found out through my daughter, who'd been texting her mom despite my instructions not to. She says she's fine, my daughter told me, but I don't think she is. She keeps asking when she can come home. This is her home now, I said. She made her choice, but that place is gross, Dad. I looked it up online. There are roaches. I felt bad for maybe half a second. Then I remembered her bringing Elliot into our house, into our life, and the sympathy evaporated. The divorce papers were filed on a Wednesday. Janet had put together an absolutely brutal case. We were going for primary custody, citing her infidelity and poor judgment. We were going after the money she'd hidden, plus her share of the equity in our house. We were asking for spousal support since technically I earned less than her, though I didn't actually need it. I just wanted to make a point. My wife's attorney called Janet the day after she was served. Your client needs to be reasonable about this. No, Janet cut him off. Your client needs to be reasonable. She had an affair, brought her lover into the family home, and has been systematically hiding assets for years. We have evidence of everything. If this goes to court, she's going to look terrible in front of a judge. So here's what's reasonable. We get primary custody, we get the house, and she doesn't fight us. That's not going to happen. Then we'll see you in court. I promise you, your client will not like how this ends. My wife tried calling me that night. I didn't answer, but she left a voicemail. Please, we need to talk. This is getting out of hand. I made a mistake. I know I did, but you're trying to take everything from me. The kids, the house, everything. Please, can we just talk face to face? I deleted it without listening to the whole thing. Days turned into weeks. The legal battle intensified. My wife had managed to scrape together money for a decent attorney, though not as good as Janet. They tried to paint me as controlling, claiming I'd kicked her out without cause. Janet destroyed that narrative with the recordings and messages. Then came the mediation hearing. It was held in a conference room downtown, all of us sitting around a big table. My wife looked terrible. She'd lost weight, had dark circles under her eyes. She was wearing clothes I didn't recognize, cheap stuff from Target or somewhere. Elliot was with her, and he looked even worse. His expensive clothes were wrinkled, his hair greasy. They both looked like people whose lives had imploded. The mediator tried to get us to be civil. We're here to reach an agreement that works for everyone. There's no agreement, I said flatly. She destroyed our family. I want primary custody of our children and fair division of assets. I'm their mother, my wife said. You can't just take them away from me. You left them, I said. You were planning to leave them as soon as it was convenient. You said so yourself. I was confused. You were on tape, Janet interjected. Audio recording, clear as day, discussing your plans to leave once your son graduated. That doesn't sound confused. That sounds premeditated. My wife's attorney tried to object, but the mediator had already heard the recordings. Your client did say those things, the mediator said gently. That does factor into custody considerations. I want to be in my kids' lives, my wife said desperately. I made mistakes, but they're still my children. You should have thought about that before you brought your affair partner around them, I said. Elliot had been quiet this whole time, but now he spoke up. Look, man, I know you're angry. Don't talk to me, I said. I'm trying to help. You're the one who helped destroy my marriage. You don't get to talk to me. The mediator cleared her throat. Perhaps Mr. Boyd should wait outside. No, my wife said quickly, grabbing his hand. He stays. And that's when I knew. Even now, even after losing everything, she still chose him. Still wanted him there instead of facing this alone. Some part of me had hoped she'd wake up, realize what she'd thrown away, but she was still all in on this fantasy. The mediation went nowhere. We couldn't agree on anything. Janet filed a motion to move forward with a court hearing. Meanwhile, I'd gotten a call from my wife's employer, or former employer, I should say. Someone had sent an anonymous tip to their HR department about her relationship with Elliot. Turns out Elliot's company was a vendor for her workplace. They supplied office equipment or something, and there were strict policies against fraternization with vendors. She was suspended pending investigation, then quietly fired. I wasn't the one who sent the tip, but I knew who had. Jennifer, Elliot's soon-to-be ex-wife, had mentioned she knew people who worked there. She'd made good on her promise to bury him, and my wife had been collateral damage. Without her high-paying job, my wife couldn't afford her attorney anymore. She had to switch to a court-appointed lawyer who was handling like 50 cases at once. Meanwhile, Janet was circling like a shark, building our case into something unsurvivable. One evening, about 3 months into this nightmare, I heard pounding on my front door. It was late, past 10 p.m., and the kids were asleep upstairs. I looked through the peephole and saw my wife. She looked absolutely wrecked. Hair a mess, mascara running, wearing the same cheap Target clothes for mediation. She was screaming something I couldn't quite make out. I opened the door a crack. What do you want? They took him, she yelled. CPS took our son. It's all your fault. I blinked. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. You called them, you told them lies, and now they're investigating me. They came to Elliot's motel and said there were reports of an unsafe environment. I didn't call CPS, I said truthfully, though I could guess who had. Our daughter had been visiting her mom at that motel last weekend and had come home crying about the conditions. She'd talked to her school counselor about it, and counselors are mandated reporters. You're lying. You're trying to take them away from me completely. You're taking yourself away from them, I said. You chose to live in a motel with a guy you've known for 6 months over your own children. You made that choice. I didn't have a choice. You kicked me out. You brought your affair partner into our home. What did you think would happen? She was crying now, ugly sobs that made her whole body shake. Please, she begged. Please just tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them I'm a good mother. They'll listen to you. I'm not telling them anything that isn't true, I said. If you're living in unsafe conditions with our son, that's something they need to know. I hate you, she spat. I hate you so much. You never loved me to begin with, I said tiredly. You told me that yourself, so I guess it doesn't matter. I closed the door on her screaming and locked it. She pounded on it for another 10 minutes before finally leaving. I watched from the window as she got into Elliot's beat-up Honda Civic. They'd had to sell both their nice cars to afford the motel and drove away. The CPS investigation was swift. They found that our son had been staying in a motel room with mold, broken heating, and questionable neighbors. They'd found evidence of substance abuse in the room, not by my wife or Elliot, but apparently Elliot had a roommate situation going on to afford the place, and that guy had a drug problem. Our son was removed and placed with me while they completed their investigation. My wife was allowed supervised visitation once a week. That was it. She'd gone from planning to share custody 50-50 to having her own son taken away because of the choices she'd made. The final court date was set for early December. Janet was confident. She has no job, no stable housing, no credibility. The judge is going to rule in your favor on basically everything. What about Elliot? I asked. Is he going to be there? Probably. Why? Just curious. The courtroom was cold. Oh, not temperature-wise, it was actually too warm, but in the way everything felt sterile and official. My wife sat at her table with her court-appointed attorney, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. Elliot was in the gallery behind her, but they didn't sit together. They didn't even look at each other. The hearing took 3 hours. Janet presented all our evidence, the messages, the recordings, the financial records showing hidden assets. She called Jennifer as a witness who testified about Elliot's character and his history of manipulation. She called our daughter's school counselor who explained the reports of unsafe living conditions. My wife's attorney tried to argue that she'd been coerced by Elliot, that she wasn't thinking clearly, that she deserved a second chance. But the evidence was too damning. The judge barely needed time to deliberate. Based on the evidence presented, I'm granting primary physical custody to the father, the judge said. Mother will have supervised visitation every other weekend, pending completion of counseling and establishment of stable housing. Regarding asset division, the court finds that the mother systematically concealed marital assets with intent to defraud. Therefore, the father is awarded 70% of all marital assets, including primary residence. The mother will be required to repay the hidden funds with interest. My wife started crying. Quiet tears at first, then building to something bigger. Her attorney tried to comfort her, but she just shook her head, staring at the floor. Does the mother have anything to say? The judge asked. She stood up slowly, looked at me for the first time in months. I'm sorry, she said. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry. You were right about everything, and I destroyed something real for a fantasy. She glanced back at Elliot, who was staring at his phone. A fantasy that wasn't even real. Mrs. Turner, the judge said gently, I strongly suggest you get your life together for the sake of your children. This ruling can be revisited in 12 months if you've shown significant improvement. She nodded, wiping her eyes. Thank you, Your Honor. We filed out of the courtroom separately. I waited in the hallway while Janet gathered paperwork. That's when I saw it. Elliot and my wife in the corner having what looked like an intense conversation. She was gesturing wildly and he kept looking around like he wanted to leave. Finally, Elliot pushed past her and headed for the exit. She called after him. Where are you going? I thought we were going to figure this out together. He turned back, and even from where I stood, I could see the irritation on his face. Figure what out? You lost your job. You're broke. You've got nothing I want anymore. But you said you loved me. I loved what you could give me, he said bluntly. And now you can't give me anything. So yeah, I'm done. Good luck with your life. He left her standing there, and she just crumbled. Slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, sobbing into her hands. Part of me wanted to feel sorry for her. The bigger part remembered her bringing him into our home, planning to leave our family, lying to my face for 6 months. I walked past her without a word, Janet beside me. You okay? Janet asked. Yeah, I said. I really am. That afternoon, I went home to our house. My house now, legally. The kids were waiting with my brother, who'd been watching them during the hearing. They both looked up when I walked in, anxious and hopeful. Dad? Our daughter asked. What happened? We won, I said simply. You'll be staying here with me. Mom can visit, but this is home. Our son nodded slowly. Is she okay? She will be, eventually. I sat down between them on the couch. Look, I know this has been hard on both of you, and I'm sorry you had to see your mom and me fall apart like this, but I need you to know none of this is your fault, and it doesn't change how much either of us loves you. Does she still love us? Our daughter asked quietly. Because it kind of feels like she chose him over us. She made bad choices, I said carefully. But yeah, she loves you. She lost her way for a while. We sat there together, the three of us, in the house that had seen so much pain and now maybe could start seeing some healing. It wasn't perfect. It wouldn't be perfect for a long time, but it was ours and it was real, and that was enough. Later that night, after the kids went to bed, I stood in the kitchen where this had all started, where I'd overheard that phone call about her never loving me. It felt like a lifetime ago. I'd been so desperate for her to love me then, so willing to accept whatever scraps of affection she'd throw my way. Now I didn't need her love. I didn't need her validation. I'd chosen myself, and that was more powerful than any love she could have given me. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Please tell the kids I love them. Please. I deleted it without responding. She'd have her supervised visits to tell them herself. I wasn't her messenger anymore. The next morning, Janet called with the final paperwork. It's all done, she said. House is in your name. Custody arrangement is filed. Everything. You're officially free. Thank you, I said, for everything. You did most of the work by having evidence. I just made sure the judge saw it clearly. After hanging up, I walked through the house, really looking at it for the first time in months. Every room held memories, some good, some painful. The living room where I'd caught them, the stairs where our daughter had broken down, the kitchen where it all started to unravel, but also the spot where I had taught our son to ride his bike indoors during a rainstorm, the counter where our daughter and I had countless breakfast conversations, the backyard where we'd built that treehouse that was more crooked than level but made with love. This house was ours, mine and my kids, and we were going to be okay. The paperwork arrived by courier that afternoon. I signed everything, watching my signature make it official. The marriage was over. The battle was done. She'd destroyed a real partnership for a fantasy that collapsed the moment things got hard. I filed the signed papers in a drawer and closed it. Then I went to find my kids because they were what mattered now. They were real. They were here. And they chose me just like I chose them. Make sure to click on the screen to watch other stories.